You know, we about to tap into something different. And shout out to Godmother University. I was inspired to share this story by watching, excuse me, by watching her a download just now. So just vibe with me for a minute. I'm gonna tell you a story, and I'm gonna inlay it with understandings that I've gained since I've grown up. I was little, right? And if you've been following me, you probably heard me tell this story before. But when I was little, I lost my hearing at like 6 months old, right? Whatever. It's a whole little dynamic in that. But ultimately, it threw my balance off, which now I'm like stuck with vertigo for the rest of my life, right? Until I scientifically find out how to beat this shit. And I lost my hearing in my left ear, right? So when I was little, like I had some little issues, you know what I'm saying? My grandmother, my mother's mother was like, she wasn't playing no smoke, like when it came to me. Like she was adamant on making sure I was gonna get better somehow, you know what I'm saying? Like, and she died way before I got grown and shit, but she was a force. Like my grandmother was Laura Mitchell. It's something serious. You know what I'm saying? They used to call her Tiny. You know what I mean? She's a short lady. You know what I mean? Real dark skin. You know what I mean? But she was fed. You know what I'm saying? Niggas ain't, you ain't F with Tiny. Like that was just the business. So I knew her history. I heard about the things she did or whatever, but people always judged her for the things she changed into. And ultimately, like I said, I'm gonna inlay this with understandings that I have now. Nobody took the time to understand that she actually came through a process. She's my grandmother. I don't give a damn what she was doing by the time she passed away. She gave birth to my mother, you know what I'm saying? And she was my grandmother, you know what I'm saying? She was my older brother's grandmother, you know what I'm saying? She was my little brother's grandmother. She was somebody's girl, you know what I'm saying? She had a baby with somebody, you know what I'm saying? Like, despite what she changed into, that's where she came from. And whatever information that was involved in that allowed her to feel how she felt, that had everything to do with the system. It was nobody in this time that was supposed to judge her, but they did. They judged her a lot. They judged her because they was afraid of her, and they judged her because of what she can do. My grandmother was able to see into the future. She would see things happen before they happen, and she would tell motherfuckers, "Don't you take your ass around there? So and so gonna do this to you." And they'd be like, "What you talking about?" And then they go around there and it happened just like that. So they were scared of my grandmother. And plus, she was about to smoke. She'll whip your ass real quick. You know what I'm saying? Like, or burn a building down behind you. Like, my grandmother didn't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, and she said what she meant. If she said something, she stood on it. You know what I'm saying? You ain't like that. You just got to deal with that. So, I remember my mother was working at my uncle Junior, Arthur Mitchell. He was the first black dance coordinator to create a dance theater in New York, a black dance theater in New York. His name is Arthur Mitchell. You can look him up, you know what I'm saying, online somewhere. You can find him. The first black, um, the first black ballet theater in Harlem, New York, was created by my uncle. It's my grandmother's brother. So my mother used to work there. She used to like sew clothes or whatever, make clothes for like the dancers and stuff with this lady named Miss Wynn. So it wasn't too far from our family house. Like we had like a brownstone and our whole family lived in it. Like from my great grandparents all the way down to like people my age, my cousins. So it's like my mom, her sisters and her cousins, and then my grandmother, her brothers and all that. And then my great grandparents. You know what I'm saying? Like it was our whole family. So, yeah, like 3 generations and shit living in one house, 4 generations, right? And so this one particular day, like me and my brother went running from the dance instead of going home. I think we came up there for the summer or whatever. We had just moved down south, so we up there, happy to be back in New York or whatever. Running back from the dance instead of going to the house. We're supposed to be getting dressed. So I'm thinking to myself, I would never forget this shit. I'm putting on this little short outfit my mother bought. It was like blue and white. Never forget. So I'm trying to get my short set. My brother pushes me down. It's like, nah, get out the clothes. I'm like, looking, I'm like, yo, what the hell you pushed me for? Like, this nigga just had this, he was always jealous. Like, that's another conversation, but he always had this personal problem with me, right? So my grandmother sees this shit. Like, she sees everything that's taking place, how it happened, what he said. She saw his intentions, and then her being cognate, you know what I'm saying? She was like vibing his whole energy. Now, mind you, my brother's 4 years older than me. So I don't know. I think I was like 4 at the time. He might have been 8. I might have been 5. He might have been 9. Whatever. Only thing I know is my grandmother backhanded this nigga like 9 feet across the floor. Nigga flew in the air, broke the china hutch. I was like, whoa. My grandmother was like, if you ever in your life put your hands on your brother, I don't care what you think. I don't care how you feel. If you ever in your life put your hands on your brother. So my brother wants to kill my grandmother, and I said, I'm gonna kill you. Not Tiny. Tiny gonna, she don't give a damn if you an infant. She gonna beat the brakes off you. Tiny didn't play that shit. She beat the brakes off you. She was with all the smoke. So now I get everybody in the whole house downstairs and shit like a party. It's like 1,000 people that's in the house downstairs now, all in the kitchen. I'm still sitting by the luggage on the floor, getting my clothes out. He looking at me mad. I'm like, yo, you did this. I'm sitting on the floor, like getting my clothes still, like, wow, all this. And I'm like in the back of the crowd. You know what I'm saying? The crowd is like at the edge of the dining room and filed all into the kitchen. You know what I'm saying? And my great grandmother was in there. Like, it was crazy. It was mad people. I'm like, yo. And my grandmother was like, go ahead. Go ahead. You gonna stab me? Stab me, nigga. Stab me. I'm gonna kill your ass today. And then I was like, Laura, just let it go. I was like, no, this little disrespect. I never forget, yo. That shit was crazy. I was watching that shit like a movie, and my brother was in the back crying with a knife. He always grabbed a knife when he got scared and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, or when he did something. He did the same thing to my grandfather though. Like the pattern was like, nigga, you always start shit. Whatever. So um that energy in itself, my grandmother was truth. You know what I'm saying? No matter what she been through, she learned enough to be truth when the times needed. You know what I'm saying? So my mother had my mother had personal issues with her parents that she, you know what I'm saying? And you know that's what pretty much with anybody family, but my mother being the true only child from her mother, you know what I'm saying? I think had some form of that had something to do with the reality, you know what I'm saying, as far as that connection. And my mother held a lot of animosity towards her mother, even after she's dead and gone now, still to this day. And with her father too, she had a lot of animosity, you know what I'm saying, still to this day. And I kinda, as her second child, it's like it's crazy, right? So it's like my mother got other siblings, right? By her father, by another woman. And then, but she's the first child of her mother, right? I'm you know what I'm saying, the first child of my father, but I got other siblings, you know what I'm saying? They got other fathers. You know what I mean? Like that's the dynamic was crazy, right? So it's like the contrast and shit. Where she found fault with her family or her mother and her father, I found grace with them. You know what I'm saying? I found grace with my grandfather. I found grace with my grandmother. And the intention of what they left behind as far as what they was trying to get across I was able to get a lot out of that. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, they say when you pass over, you learn everything. You learn everything that you were supposed to know. Like as soon as you get over there, it's like the download hit, boom. I don't know. It's like when my grandmother died, whatever she knew when she got there, she instantly came to get me. You know what I'm saying? And it was like that night, I never forget. Like it was like that after the funeral, we came back, and I remember being in my room and went to sleep, and I remember her coming to my bed. It was like a dark image, but it was the energy was her, but it was a dark image, and she was standing at the foot of my bed, like she had a hood on. She was like, "Come with me," and I was walking with her. I got sleepwalking, and I got to like the edge of the stairs, and the stairs went down like 3, and then turned, and then went down like 12. You know what I'm saying? Something like that, or went down like 16. It was like mad stairs. So at the age of 11, if I had to just stepped over those stairs, I probably would have broke my neck. You know what I'm saying? I probably would have died, and I would have ended up with her, right? Well, I know this. If you die in this world by the hands of somebody, you either come back as their servant or as their child. People don't be knowing this shit. Like shit get deep. When somebody kill you in this world, you either come back as their servant or their child based on their intention. Don't let that go over your head neither. Yeah, tie that into everything in existence. Seriously. And you'll answer a lot of questions of why a lot of shit is the way it is right now. Why is somebody acting like this and why is they like that? Yeah, facts. Um, but me understanding that, it started showing me that we didn't have enough time together. You know what I'm saying? And if my grandmother had been here, a lot of shit I went through was just not gonna happen. You would have got your hair split. You know what I'm saying? Like, period. You know what I mean? Nothing was gonna stop the growth that was supposed to come from me. You know what I'm saying? Nothing was gonna stop me getting it the right way if my grandmother was gonna be here. Nothing. Nothing. And they would have had to live with that. You know what I'm saying? But she died before I was old enough to have that type of protection. And then when she died, whoever had beef for her was like, yo, she gone, nigga. Let's say my grandfather, he grabbed my arm before he passed away. And I felt him go inside me. You know what I'm saying? So I always feel connected to my grandparents in a way that normal people not. You know what I'm saying? So I understood what my grandmother wanted from me. I know she didn't want me to suffer. You know what I'm saying? She was showing me that while she was here. And whatever she saw and she knew, she didn't want to tell me what she saw in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love my grandmother unconditionally. I didn't care. Like, I loved her. And she didn't, and I don't think she knew what that type of love was. But she saw it in me. And then she would like snap at me sometimes, but then she would see I'm just trying to come, and then she'll invite me in. We'll get more into that later, but I just wanted to share that right there. You know what I mean? To put you on to how some things work. It's a real life story. I might give you a part 2 to this later, but you already know the vibes. NAGA.